Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we have another video from another channel. These are the Legends of Nerdvana. 3 people who are working their way through a 3,000 game collection, and then, if I know gamers, adding more to that collection before they finish working their way through it. So we're going to bring you a video from them. We've got several videos from them coming up in the future. Hope you enjoy them. Click on the link in the description below to go check out their YouTube channel. Here we go.
Hello everyone, today we got to play Merchant's Cove. So I was super excited about this one, guys. And hopefully, I know you guys seen the unboxing, hopefully you were too. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to see what other games come our way.
What, we're going to have more games?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
All right, Robert, tell us about Merchant's Cove.
All right, Merchant's Cove, BGG rating of 8.0, plays 1 to 4 people. Designer is Johnny Pack, who's made quite a few games with Miko at the one of the artists that's worked in the game. Carl Van Osteren and Drake Villarreal were the designers, and then art is again Miko. Published by Final Frontier Games. Now, I've listed several different MSRPs because we played with, not necessarily with everything, but we have everything to play in this game as far as currently available. So the base game is $79 MSRP and 4 expansions: Secret Stash, Innkeeper, Dragon Rancher, and the Oracle, all at $24. So if you go straight up MSRP, everything we would have here, $175.
Okay. All right. Pretty pricey. But as we go talk about quality opponents, talk about table presence, man. Like top notch.
Well, I don't know if it's table presence so much as it is the table. It takes up every bit of space.
It's huge.
We played 3-player and had 3 side tables along with the main table to get it.
And we needed every bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we did feel a little cramped. So
it is a beast to set up. It's a beast to assemble when you first get it out of the box. There's so much cardboard that has to be folded and constructed. And
every player has their own board. And so you almost have to set up your own stuff for each player, let alone the main board.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say, look at it, guys. It's absolutely gorgeous. You have the 3D shints. You have screen printed meeples of different varieties. You do have cardboard goods. Yeah, that's the right word. Cardboard goods. You've got standard dice. I don't think the dice are anything special. You have these gems to when you get 100.
Each character. So there's marbles for one character.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, my character was the Oracle and had a scrying pool or whatever you did, divining pool.
I didn't have anything particularly special. I played the Dragon Rancher. It comes with a little Dragon Ranch pen that you put them in, and then Dragon cardboard standees based off of the level. So
you had wooden, screen printed wooden.
But unlike everybody else, I got poop tokens.
So I mean, I think there is a lot to this game.
There really is a lot.
And I think all of it is very gorgeous, very pretty. But a lot of cardboard.
Constructed well. That's the big beef I had with the boats in particular, and the shelving. When they manufactured it, they didn't cut it right, such that it would fold nicely. And there's a lot of times when you folded it, it peeled the exterior layer as you folded it, and the slits on to do the tucking were not cut right, such that the tabs would go in nicely. Mm-hmm. It was a chore, particularly the boats.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think they should have gone with a resin boat with the price point the way they were already at. Just charge a little more and put resin boats in, because the boats really needed to be more stable than what.
What about the storage capacity, though?
It could have been that size and still fit just the same.
Either that, or you could have done balsa pretty cheap. And then glued it.
Yeah, I don't like assembly.
Think that would
First of all, I don't like assembly in a game to begin with. But I would personally prefer if those were resin, especially the boats. The shelves fine, but
it is pricey. But I can imagine how much it would cost if you did resin boats. Yeah. It would be probably way too expensive for the amount of game that you get out of it.
Well, if not, then they should have done a lot better on the.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Because they were a pain. And
instead of folded cardboard, you assemble it and glue it and let it dry, and then it'd be fine.
Oh, I would hate glue even worse.
Yeah, I would not want to glue.
Yeah, but it's permanent.
Yeah. I actually think it looks pretty.
It looks pretty.
But I didn't have to put them together. So take that for what you will. So give it a score go. Oh, my board was inlaid. I don't know about your guys's.
Nope.
No.
Oh.
Mine was a whiteboard. I mean, it's a dry erase board.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So each character,
Everybody's
everyone's
completely
different.
That's the theme of the game. I mean, where this game is going to be cool.
Okay.
Is that each character is different.
So give it a score, guys, for quality of components.
I think everything looks great when put together. Again, like Miranda, I didn't put any of it together, so I can't say how much of a pain in the butt it was. I just got to enjoy it.
Yeah, I know, right?
So I can't knock it a whole lot. I mean, it looks fantastic. I want to give it a 9.
See, I don't think I could give it a 9 because I know with my printer I could do some work. But with that being said,
you got to assume not everybody has a 3D printer.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but I'm saying, like, for me, a 9 or a 10 is something that I can't think of what I would 3D print.
All right.
And so
I can't 3D print.
So I'll give this an 8.5 because I do think it is awesome. It is beautiful. I don't know if I want to invest the time in 3D printing, but there are definitely some upgrades I could see doing. So with that, I'll give it an 8.5. What about you?
This is torn because I really hated the boats. I was very disappointed in the quality of the components. Given the price of how much I already paid on this game, yes, you get a lot of stuff for it. I was very bummed on the boats. As a matter of fact, I wrote onto the Kickstarter today complaining about the boats. I will have to say I'll give it a 7.5 because the boats just dragged it down a whole point for me. I would probably give it an 8.5 otherwise, but the boats were that disappointing.
Now I feel like I need to put one of the boats together.
I don't feel bad for my 9. So.
There's actually a couple more boats to assemble, so you can do that.
Oh, bummer. Spoke up too soon.
Yes.
Okay. All right, now let's go into theme. Now, theme for this, spot on. The fact that each player is their own type of merchant, creating their own type of good, and that, guys, is absolutely
it's super
fantastic. Cool. Like, there was a lot of games that I was excited because every person is different, but then you go in and play it and it kind of sucks. I can think of more than one on the top of my head, specifically one. But this, it had it. Like, I was expecting to play something different. It did. It was nice. It was cool. And I was, like, envious because I'm like, man, I want to play, that. And then I'm like, oh, I want to play what he's playing too. But then I was really happy with my character. So it's just, I think there's some playability there because you do want to try all the different ones.
Yeah, I mean, thematically, this is where it definitely excels. It's got,
for sure.
It's got a really good table presence, as we already mentioned. It's got, the beautiful meeples. The characters are very beautiful on the art.
Yeah, the artwork's fantastic.
And they're all
looks
distinct.
beautiful.
They're all distinct cards. I'm not sure exactly how a robot fits into this, but it was kind of cool looking robot to be in there. Yeah, I mean, it was. Everything matched the characters. I mean, you're building weapons because you're a blacksmith. I was building what do you call those, runes?
Yeah.
And because I'm the Oracle, and I was making predictions. Everything fit my character. You were raising dragons. That everything fit your character with the poo.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it was just it all meshes really well as far as a theme. It's I can't think of a thing to take off on this.
And there's 4 characters that come in the base game, and you got 3 expansions.
I will say, now that we're talking about this, you know what I think would be really cool?
What's that?
If they added an expansion or something to where, like, my byproduct could be something you could use. I think that would be interesting.
Well, we can talk about that in gameplay.
Yes.
We've got some things to bring up there.
Yeah.
As far as
random thoughts.
As far as theme, I got to give this a 10. I can't think of anything to take off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
10 for theme.
10 for spot on. All right, moving down to rules. Everyone had to read their own set of rules.
Yeah, every character has their own
rule
base
book.
rule book, and everybody else has their own.
Yeah, so just be prepared. There's a lot of rules you're going to have to read in this. It's not that hard of a game as you start reading. There were quite a few typos throughout the base character rulebook and the characters.
I didn't notice any typos.
Yeah, they weren't horrible, but there were several of them. I think I saw somebody. I didn't read your book, but there were some references to alloy that was actually allow.
It was mine.
Yeah, So yeah, I know there's lots of different typos throughout.
Not a great job editing.
Yeah, I didn't see anything that was confusing really in the book. It's got a lot of pictures. There's no cheat sheets for this. That would have probably been my only complaint. They have a game overview on the back.
I don't think
if
you need it if every character has their own, because
Everyone
book.
has their own thing. So that's really
And the back
a
has a
cheat
cheat sheet.
And mine was a centerfold again, which I was not
How
happy
did you
about.
end up with this
I got the centerfold. I was like, why did they make it?
Look at her. That's how it's
Why did they do one different than the others? All the other ones are
It's
books.
because they were wanting to anoint
Exactly.
you. Exactly.
Exactly it.
I will say, while reading it, there was some confusion because I ended up cheating for a good part of the game.
I thought you did that on purpose.
I really didn't. I would have won anyway.
I knew there was something you were doing wrong.
Well, no, I knew
from
it
the very
too.
beginning.
I was like,
when we're all like struggling to make like 2 or 3 items to sell, and you got 16, and you're like, oh, well, I'm winning by 200 points now.
No. I was sitting there thinking, this is too easy. Something is wrong. But the way it read, because it said, all right, put your worker on to set up your furnace and then place your dice. And so I assumed it meant all the furnaces. No, it meant a furnace.
Most of the grievances, funny you should talk, is about the blacksmith in particular. His rule book was the worst of them.
From
what I read online, people were complaining about the blacksmith rule book more than any.
Okay, so it wasn't like completely my fault.
It wasn't completely your fault. No.
And the
but
only
we're
reason,
still going to blame you 100% though.
Listen, I made up for it. I gave the time back, and I really.
You would have lost.
Us.
Yeah, if you would have lost, then you would have made up for it. But you guys still kicked our butt.
I gave you back the time,
so you didn't make up for it.
But I do think there was a little bit of confusion with the rule books. I do think there wasn't quite as clear as I would have liked. I do think the cheat sheet on the back of the rule book is good enough.
It did help my
yes,
cheat sheet
for me. In fact, that's when I realized I was doing something wrong, and I was just like, "Wait a minute, what? That's not what it said." So with that, score-wise, guys, what would you give it?
I think it's probably a 7. The book, there's so many rules that you have to take in. They did a pretty good job of conveying. I read the book and I knew how to play the base game of it in one try. There wasn't any going back and rereading.
Right.
So they did a good job with it. And the player ones, it's going to be your particular character may vary situation. But I think that knowing that there were issues, particularly with the blacksmith, but other characters as well had typos, I can't give Iron a 7. I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, for mine, I think I'm going to have to give it a 6 because there was several points where I was confused and didn't understand. Like when you go to forge, you forge everything, which is why I thought when loading you would load everything. But that's not the case. You can forge everything, but you only load once. Like, there's a lot. And then, not only that, though, but when you get new alloys, right, you take one action, you fill up the alloy. But then, like, I was done, like, the very first round from doing that because you place one and then you take one off. So that's 2. So that only allows you to do that twice. So essentially, that was kind of pointless. And I feel like I was probably doing that wrong as well. But I had no, like, that's what the rules said, and I didn't like it. So I'm actually barely giving this a 6 because there was a lot of stuff wrong with my particular rule book, and I still, even now after playing, don't know if I played it right, and I hate that feeling. So, what about your rule book?
It was all right. I mean, I thought my character was really basic to play, so there was not really anything to it. I can't give it more than a 6 just because there's nothing special about it.
So
I mean, it's better than Catan. So
okay, all right. So moving on to gameplay. This is, I do think, a medium game. I don't call this heavy in any stretch or form, and I'm kind of leery.
I don't even know if it's really up to
medium. I think it's a light to medium, maybe.
I think with the sheer amount of rules, it has to fall into the medium. I don't think it can. This is definitely not at the same level of, like, say, It's a Wonderful World or any of that. It's beyond that because you've got a full book just to learn this part of it, and this is really just keeping time in the game.
Yeah, I think you need an experienced player to manage this but you could have some beginners just playing their board. And I think that would be the difference. Like, if you were trying to manage this, I think you need a little more experience than say, oh, I'm just doing my blacksmith stuff, or I'm just doing my dragon breeding thing. So with that, there are several things I did like. I do like the fact that it's very solo oriented and driven, because I could just build things, and I like building things. The problem with it is it kind of got repetitive, because like I said, that action was gone twice. So all I really did was load furnaces and forge, load furnaces and forge. And so I wish there was something else to do.
I would say, when we were playing, I was thinking yours was the one that looked least interesting of the bunch, because there was very little for you to do. I mean, the dice play was kind of cool, but apart from that, there's not a whole lot to do with yours.
Well, I don't even know
I had
what
a lot
the point
more
of
variety
the
on my board.
See, I have no idea what the point of the workers were. I really have no clue, because the amount of time it took me to go get a worker, I could have forged, like, I could create so much more. Like, the workers that are on the main board, no point. And especially with corruption, like, most of those required corruption, I was like, why even bother with doing it? Like, I had that's actually what confused me. I was like, I don't know why ever would I would get a worker, and I don't know, like, literally.
Well, they give you in-game bonus points. I mean, that's one thing. They do have the shields and crests on them to give you.
How did that work out for you?
Oh, it wouldn't. Maybe if you weren't 100 points ahead of all of us on the score track, it's hard to say. So I can't say how it would have worked out for me. But I mean, I ended up not having that much corruption in the end. But yeah, I mean, my character basically was corrupting themselves every time you rolled, and that was part of the problem. Not in addition to getting that corruption, I got every time I dropped my stuff, if it fell on the same side, I got corruption. So mine was designed to have to take on a corruption and then have to get rid of it.
Well, see, but mine's not the case, because mine, I just had to get the right numbers on the dice. And so you just load up each forge individual, or you load up each furnace, and as long as you did the right numbers, you can forge. If you didn't have the right dice, you could just wait forge, allow you to reroll all your dice. So I never actually had to get a corruption. Not once. And so I thought, well, why do that when I can produce quite a bit with not
my
having to do
concern, my take on this game is it is a very novel idea as far as each of the characters. The only thing I've seen that even comes close to this is Vast that I can think of. Or same company. But that's the only thing I could say where there was each player had a completely distinct play style. That's what this reminds me of, but they took it to the next level and gave each person their own distinct mechanisms in their gameplay, which is kind of cool. But I think it's a cool idea. It's a novelty. But I think it's going to get old really fast, because if you take these out of the picture and just focus on the main game board,
there's
it's really all it is a timer for the game, and you spend a lot of effort just manipulating that. And the only thing that it nets you, and the only interaction between players, is getting the colors of the different people to come on to buy the products, and it's not that interesting.
This is a game of mini games. So if each game you learn a different character, you learn a new mini game. Cool. But once you play the 7 mini games, that's it. And I can't see why I would play it once I played all the little mini games.
Yeah, it's almost like this would be a great rental. But I can't see it being something that you should have invested in like I did. I mean, it's not a long-term game that I can see getting a lot of replayability out of it. You're going to get to try each one of them. You might try them a few times. See if mine was interesting enough. I want to go back and play it and try to get a better score on it.
I would see the replayability for every time you get new players. It's something you break out and they go oohs and ahs, and you get that good feeling that you got this cool game that everybody wants to play. But you're only going to be able to do that with new players. Again, because once you get those new players out and they start playing each of the different characters, it's going to get very samey.
I mean, that was my disappointment, I think, because I had, again, such high hope.
I still want to play it. I still want to play the other characters. I really want to play yours because I like rolling rights, and that's what yours like. The Innkeeper looks interesting. I thought the Dragon Rancher was quite boring, but the Blacksmith looks all right. And so
it's boring too.
It's just that each one, I'm interested in trying each one, but once each one is done, I'll be done with the game. It's almost like an escape room game. Once you go through it all, you're done.
I do think that needs, and I'm trying, looking at it, I'm trying to figure out, because it has such good potential, I like the fact that you're playing your own thing. What could you do to make it better? And really, you're going to have to add like interaction with other players, or you're going to have to make this more complicated. Like, I don't.
Yeah, it's too simplistic on each board. And that's the problem you get into when you do that subdividing stuff, is each one is very basic and it's not interesting enough to hold its appeal. There's just not enough game there. And then when you get to the main board, that's the only place interaction comes in, and it's just getting the different color meeples into the different buckets to score your points to the maximum. And you're only adding generally one meeple to a boat. So there's a little bit of the feel of Imhotep in that you're filling the boat and setting it sail. But that's Imhotep's not the best comparison to it, because it's not the most interesting game either. So I mean, other than that, it's just a timepiece. And
what would be interesting? Maybe they could do a resource mechanism where the boats also brought in resources along with workers, and so therefore you would only have those resources to use. I don't know. There's got to be something they could do different, because really, that's where I think part of me was like, the resources were so readily available, it just made it too easy. Where maybe if I had to do some foraging or maybe go buy it or something, that maybe it would have ended up better. I don't know.
Yeah, now they did try to add a little variety by having the gray meeples have different functions. So we played with probably the most basic one, where it was just negative points. Okay. But there's other ones that have different attributes that affect the gameplay. Still not a lot of, it's not going to be a drastic change. And then the corruption does add an interesting aspect to it with the in-game bonus points on top of it. Yeah. And the fact that it adds this board that you can trigger up to 4 different actions if you fill it up.
You see how well I used that one?
Yeah, you didn't use it at all. I filled mine up.
I had 3 of the 4 filled up, but I didn't use it that much.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it was value add to go over there.
Well, maybe not for your character, whereas I was dependent on the luck of what dropped in my roll, and if things didn't drop right, I had that to fall back on, that I could go and take and trigger all of those actions, because otherwise my only other option was to fill in little bonus dots on the side that gave me options to
but at least you had variety, whereas mine...
Yeah, I had a variety.
All mine was I either drop food, I move dragons around, hatch them, or move them around to eat, and then sell them. That's literally everything I did.
That's pretty much what I had, load up the furnaces, make the stuff, do it again.
Right. So, I could cut trees down. So I got that option too. So,
yeah.
So again, it's just...
Give it a score.
I wish there was more to it.
Give it a score, guys.
Because of the novelty, I want to give it a bonus because it is very unique and some cool ideas that just didn't meet the hype or the initial expectation. I want to give it a 7.
Brandy?
7's where I'm at on this too. I wish it could be higher, because I thought it was a cool idea. I just don't think there's enough gameplay here to make it any higher.
I'm going to say a 7, knowing that every time we played, it's going to drop a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think that's something, first playthrough, this literally, if you have a friend that already has it, just borrow it.
Just play theirs, yeah.
Just play theirs, borrow theirs. I'm not sure I would invest in this.
I might borrow it just to try the solo part, since you guys really don't play solo. I wouldn't mind seeing what that looks like. But that's really about the only reason why I would do it.
Yeah, I think this is a borrow kind of game.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, so. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We loved having you, and hopefully you'll come visit us again. Bye. Bye.